at the risk of dating myself, I joined Bear Stearns in '82, in March of '82, and the Mexican default was in August of '82, and then after that, it was a wave of default in emerging markets. And American banks that had made loans to not just Latin American countries, but to emerging markets in general, got into trouble. This was a period in which then Chairman Volcker had raised interest rates to curb U.S. inflation, and we had the worst recession in '81, '82 since post-war, and those kinds of extreme moments in which you see crises happening in real time in the financial industry left a really big imprint, lasting impression on me. And so I became very interested in studying those issues. And I've focused along the way on many other things. Inflation has been also an area in inflation stabilization. Issues pertaining to capital flows, international capital flows, what drives capital across international borders. So I don't want to, I'm not going to go through, all the areas where I've worked on, but they were very importantly motivated by my real life experience. And I've really been very lucky to have had a combination of market experience, financial market experience at Bear Stearns, then the policy side, working at the IMF, and also doing some work with central banks. I often consult with central banks or finance ministries. And then, my academic work. So I've gone at these issues from wearing different hats. And real-time events continue to fascinate me. And so at present, I'm following very closely developments in Europe, where today Portugal is following in the steps of Greece and Ireland and is embroiled in all kinds of turmoil and, will possibly wind up with an IMF and European Union program and loans before very long. In emerging markets, I don't have a regional expertise. I've worked a lot on Latin America, Asia, Africa, but I love international economics. I think it's very exciting stuff, even if some people think it's like watching paint dry.
So in regards to your experience at Bear Stearns with the Mexican crisis, what valuable lesson do we have to learn from those crises going forward with what we're dealing with today?
I hate to be a wet rag, but the major problem seems to be not what we learn, but what we don't learn. I would say, looking back at the recent crisis here in the U.S. and also in Europe, that we have learned as a profession a great deal about managing the crisis. The monetary stimulus, the fiscal stimulus, it was aggressive, it was swift, and it therefore didn't repeat the problems we had with both monetary and fiscal policy during, say, the Great Depression. So on the management side, we've done certainly a lot better. Now, on the prevention side, with my co-author Ken Rogoff, we've been working together for 11 years. Our central theme is that, look, human nature, this time is different syndrome, is about not learning, actually. It's human nature convincing itself that the old rules of the game apply to others, or maybe apply to us, but in the ancient past, they don't apply to us in the here and now. So if equity market is booming and price earnings ratios are off the charts relative to any historic norm, we can come up with a story of why this should continue. Or if our debt, our personal debt relative to our income keeps going up, we can conjecture a story as to why that is sustainable when it wasn't sustainable before. What I'm about to say, it sounds terrible, but this time is different syndrome in a very personal way came to me in 1989. I found out my mom had cancer, and cancer was something that other people had, that it wasn't close to you. Crises are like that. We think, no, those things, they happen in the emerging markets. That was the story before 2007. So I don't think we've learned a lot about how to avoid. I think we've done quite a bit of learning on how to manage. And I just wanted to make that distinction. And I personally, one of the things that I personally learned about the 82 crisis is the issue of, it wasn't called contagion in those days. In the early 80s, when the domino effect that one country defaulted and the other defaulted and the one crisis followed the other. And it wasn't like a domino effect, but I became very interested in interconnections, financial interconnections, trade interconnections at that time. That left also a big question mark in my own mind as things that I wanted to follow up. And I very much remain interested in issues of financial contagion and contagion more general to this day.